G'day guys, ZiggyD here. A common topic of discussion for the Path of Exile community lately has been game difficulty and power creep. Particularly pervasive has been this idea that the game should be difficult all the time, likely a throwback to the old days that people would spend a full minute killing a white pack in Maelstrom of Chaos. Certainly back in the beta, a selling point for the game was its difficulty, and that's true even today despite players getting stronger all the time, both in game knowledge and in actual game power. Well, while at the GGG offices, I took the opportunity to ask Chris and Jonathan about their vision for the game's difficulty. Check it out.
There are two experiences we want to capture. The first one is that these are kind of at odds to each other in some way. The first one is that monsters have characteristic difficulty which you can understand and work around. And an example is there's Molten Shell on the Goat Shamans, for example. We want it that when you trigger the Molten Shell, you know it's going to almost kill you, or kill you if you're low on life. Right now, that may not be the case, and this is something we're looking into, but we want it so that from time to time you encounter a monster where you know if it does something, I'm going to be in trouble. But I know what that is, and I can avoid it. Obviously, I don't melee against the Molten Shell guy, for example. And if Val Oversoul is charging up for his big slam that used to, cause a lot of rage on the internet, then we want that to be a dangerous thing. So we want to try, especially over time, to recapture the difficulty we've had in these iconic moments where you learn these are things that you have to avoid. But in terms of general difficulty, I'd like it that people can relatively mindlessly grind regular content in Path of Exile, where there's spikes of difficulty when things converge together. So if you find a rare monster, maybe you pay a bit more attention, but two rare monsters where the things are really deadly in conjunction, like two auras that work synergistically, that's something which suddenly wakes you up. So those are where the hardcore deaths occur, and I'd rather that you die because of something interesting happening, rather than just the monsters being particularly grindy. Like, if we make the white monsters way too powerful and have too much life, it's now boring and just difficult all around. We'd rather have it so you can kind of have the TV on while you're playing. There's also an experience I'd like to relate of the idea that someone sits at work wanting to play Path of Exile, because when they get home they get to go kill some monsters while chilling out, it's not too stressful, and they find some awesome items and feel like it was a productive evening, and they want to do that every day when they get home from work. And this is something that I think we've achieved more in the last few years.
But it is, you still have to have it so that, every now and then, every couple of maps or whatever, there's the thing that's kind of like, oh, well, shit, I have to deal with this.
Threats, yeah.
Just to sort of wake you up. And, make it interesting.
Salazar.
So, ideally, the overlapping different mods and things like that, all the different factors that can happen, or, or Tormented Spirits, and all that kind of, Tormented Spirits are a great example of, oh, this boss is normally fine, but, oh, crap, a Tormented Spirit infected it, and now it's, a real hard fight. That's the kind of thing we like in terms of difficulty, because it's, an interesting story of oh, this thing happened, and then the game became really hard for a little while, and then I concentrate on that, and then then I'm when I'm done that, I can go back to kind of just doing the easy stuff.
Right. We also learned a ton about signaled versus non-signaled difficulty. Invasion, where the monster will kill you from off screen and it's somewhere on the map and you don't know, is very stressful to play. Kind of like Tempest in a way. They're fatiguing things where suddenly you could have to pay attention all the time. Whereas in something like Essence, you have to manually unlock the monsters. They're sitting there waiting, and you can prepare, you can put your totems out, you can have your flasks ready, and that lets us get away with much more impactful fights. In the past, if we throw an impactful fight in Invasion League, you see really bad player retention because a lot of people who don't want that level of onerousness go and play Standard instead.
And then you guys have also been kind of adding things at the top as well that you can go into that's more difficulty, right? Is that something you've been thinking about?
Like the endgame labyrinth, for example, is not super easy, and this Shaper content and Guardian content is going to be pretty hard. That's when I was doing the press tour, it was very embarrassing to be playing through that content and just dying repetitively when showing journalists. I was trying to explain, it's tier 16, which is, the power level's over 9,000. It's a number, they don't know.
So here's some of my thoughts. While power creep is a hot topic issue for many players, and the power creep is undeniable, it seems that it's intended that players be strong and destroy the majority of content. So long as those memorable moments of peak difficulty remain, then I think that this is a good thing. Blowing up vast quantities of monsters and scoping up the loot is a part of the joy of action RPGs after all. Feeling powerful is the reward for the gear you've gotten and the progression you've done. I'd like to see GGG continue down the route of adding optional, highly difficult content and adding in those monster mechanics and combos that occasionally crop up and make you pay attention. My testing of the Hydra Guardian fight shows me that GGG is still pretty interested in giving us that tense, edge-of-seat gameplay, and I can only imagine that the Shaper fight is going to be much harder than that. But I'm curious, what do you guys hope to see out of the difficulty in Path of Exile? Do you think the power creep we've had so far is a problem? Let me know in the comments below. That's it for now, I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.